to another episode of Girls on Deck. I'm joined by Hannah Russo, as always, and today we're going to be talking about some MLB and NBA topics, but we're going to start with MLB. Now, the season hasn't started yet. We're really approaching it, but, we want to talk about the top pitchers, hitters, all of the above going into the season. So, Hannah, I want to know, who do you think is your top pitcher going into this 2021 season?
I'm going to go ahead and start with our World Series winner, Clayton Kershaw. Over his entire MLB career, he's only allowed 2 runs. That's really hard to achieve, especially when he's been in the game for such a long time. So he has stats from when he started over 10 years ago. And the fact that it's only an average of 2 runs over his entire, 13 seasons, I believe. It's incredible, and he's definitely going to be a tough pitcher to come up against this season.
Absolutely. I think, a lot of people hate on Clayton Kershaw because, in postseasons prior, he has kind of fallen short, but as we saw last season, he pulled through. He showed why he's one of the best pitchers in the entire league, and I think he'll continue that. And I think one thing to note is his age. He's not a young guy, and that's a lot of wear and tear on your arm. So the fact that he's still playing at such a level is just phenomenal in itself.
Exactly. And a lot of people like to rag on him because they know that they can't beat him. Mm-hmm. It's easier to tear down your opponent when you know they're so far ahead of you.
Absolutely. And I think, joining the Dodgers are going to have quite the rotation this season that I'm thoroughly excited to watch that between Trevor Bauer, David Price finally coming into play.
Exactly.
Last year he opted out due to COVID, but this year he'll finally be playing. So I'm super excited to see how they perform. But my top pitcher this season, I'm going to have to go with Jacob deGrom. I mean, the guy is absolutely unstoppable. Unfortunately, he's on a team that sucks, worse than the NL East last year. I mean, I always hope that the Mets add someone. I don't like when they I don't want to see them get rid of him because I like when a guy sticks with the team, but I just think they don't have the team around him. That's why I feel like he kind of goes unnoticed a lot of times because he's not on a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees or a team like that, like the team that's consistently winning. So I feel like people forget, but he is an absolutely phenomenal, talented player. And I think he will be number 1 pitcher this year. And maybe we will see him win the NL Cy Young Award. Who knows?
I hope so. He also has an ERA of 2.13, so very similar to Clayton Kershaw. He's up there. He's only been in the game for a few years, however, but he's definitely a very strong pitcher. And personally, I think he should be traded from the Mets just so he can have that experience where he can be better, where he can win a title.
Yeah, I see. I like to see them stick with a team, in any sport. I hate when they just jump to the all-star team, but I think in his case, poor guy, they're clearly not doing it. If it's clear that they're not doing anything for you, then you have my blessing to leave. And again, I think if this year something doesn't happen, I don't know, I think pretty soon we could be seeing a deGrom trade, and it could be to a big team. So we will see the future of that. But another pitcher I think that a lot of people may not think would be this. No, yes and no. Sorry. Had a little mental fight with myself there for a second. Ryu of the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are a stacked team this year. I think they're going to be a contender. I think they're going to be a contender in the playoffs. So I think his talent is finally going to be shown a light on. He was on the Dodgers. He was phenomenal when he was on the Dodgers. It wasn't that he was failing. I think he's now the Blue Jays star pitcher. He's at the top of their rotation, and I think he's going to absolutely carry them this season, and I'm really excited to see what he does.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch him and just to see how much more he can progress this season, and if he can win, he can help get his team to a title or at least a division series or a championship series.
Mm-hmm. I think I feel like it's still a bold prediction to say that the Blue Jays could win it all. I think we have to see how this team works. They made a lot of moves, but you don't know how it could work dynamically. So I think that's what we're going to see this season. And I think I feel like it should be secure for a playoff run, but you never know what could happen. That's the beauty of baseball. Anything is possible. You saw the Nationals win when they weren't supposed to win. Marlins made the playoffs. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs. So anything is possible. But yeah, I'm super excited for those pitchers for sure.
It'll be a good season for them. So we're gonna have to watch out and just keep our eyes open.
Absolutely. Now, switching to the other side is top hitters this season. Now, my first one I have to go with is Giancarlo Stanton. Now, he's kind of been, Yankees fans may say that he was a cancer for them for a little bit, but I think as we saw this last postseason, he is coming out of his shell. He's a phenomenal player. I mean, that 2017 season, we cannot forget, he almost broke the record for most home runs ever in a single season. And he homered 6 times in 7th game of the playoffs last year. So I think he's finally, he's got all his injuries out of the way. I think he's going to come back. Yeah. Yeah, you're a Yankees fan. I'm so sorry. I think he got his injuries out of the way, and I think he's finally coming into himself, and he's gonna be that player that the Yankees bought in the first place. And I really am excited to watch it because again, he's a phenomenal player to watch when he's hitting good. And I think he's going to be one to watch this season for sure.
No, exactly. I believe last time we talked about him, you said he's been in the game since 2010, right? Around there. And people have just started to learn his name around 2017 when he was traded to the Yankees after he was successful in Miami. So we'll have to see him continue to come out of his shell and continue to be the slugger that we know that he is.
Absolutely. Now, what's your top hitter this season?
I'm going to have to go with our 2017 American League Rookie of the Year, Aaron Judge, another Yankee. He's always been a Yankees bomber. He's one that a lot of people, again, would like to rag on because they know that he can hit those home runs. He can send it deep into center field and you're not going to catch it. So he has to continue to do that. And from what I've seen in the last season, he's kind of fallen into a funk, but he needs to continue to progress out of that, continue to hit and just be in the cages, doing what he does best. He can help them get to the World Series title that they've been tiptoeing around the last 4 years.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Yankees have just been battling themselves, honestly, at the end of the day, with injuries and just wrong moves and stuff. So I think maybe this year they'll finally gel back together and kind of get what they need to, because as much as I dislike the Yankees, they've been so close so many times, and it's about time, you get that 28th title. I think this season could be it, if Aaron Judge and Stanton get back into it. I think that's actually they're going to be a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, they were supposed to be the dynamic duo in the outfield, but we've only ever seen one of them there at one time.
Yes. Now, my number 2 top hitter would be Stan's former teammate, Christian Yelich of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, he had a rough 2020 season. In 2019, he was injured, but he is still one of the best players and outfielders, hitters, all the above in the league still. And I think he's going to get his mojo back this season. I mean, we cannot forget that 2018 MVP season, 44 homers. He's a phenomenal hitter. That's why the Marlins drafted him back when they did, because he is just a phenomenal hitter for such a lean guy. I remember watching an interview and they were like, you don't expect that out of him, but he is. He's great. So I think he is definitely going to be one of the top hitters this season.
Oh, for sure. And what team did you say he played for? It slipped my mind. Milwaukee Brewers. So yeah, they definitely need someone like him. They're a name that you don't hear very often when it comes to playoffs, or just a name that's always at the top of their conference for their league. So hopefully he'll help take them to the next step, and he'll continue to show that he is a young player that can do the most, whether it's in the outfield or up at bat.
Yeah, and I think the Brewers this season are going to be finally a little more on their way up. They just got Jackie Brantley Jr. from the Red Sox, so I think that's just going to be a phenomenal outfield for them. And I'm excited to see what they do. I think he deserves to be on a winning team. So we will see what happens with the Brewers. But what do you think? Who else are you looking forward to see hitting this year?
Freddy Freeman. Everyone began to know his name last season, and I really hope that it continues. He has a career batting average that's just shy of .300 and a career slugging average that's just shy of .500. So his numbers are up there. and he did really well last season. He definitely made a name for himself and became kind of an ace that the Atlanta Braves know that they can use and that they can put as a designated hitter when they need someone to just go up and save them if they're ever in a pinch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's just, like you said, last season, I feel he finally got recognized, obviously winning the NL MVP, but I think that just as a whole, he's finally a recognized player. The Braves are finally becoming a team. We saw them contend very strongly in the playoffs last year, and I don't think that's gonna slow down this season. I think they're gonna make it back to where they ended up last year and maybe even further. So I definitely am excited to see him this year. I always love watching him hit.
Yes.
Now, my last one is someone that I think is definitely not losing their mojo from the World Series, Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, I was looking at lists of people to watch, this season for like hitters and trying to like put my list together. And I did not see him on anyone that I looked at. And I think that's shocking to me because of how we saw he performed last season for being a rookie. He beat the league record for most home runs in a single postseason with 9 home runs. I think he had 17 overall in the whole season. I mean, he's just a phenomenal player. And I think he's just getting started. As far as rookies go, I feel like he kind of gets forgotten. And, we talked about him during the World Series and that's it. So yeah. I personally am super excited to see him this season, whether he's in the outfield or hitting. I really just think he's going to be phenomenal to watch. And I think his career is just getting started.
Yeah, I agree. It would be great to see him continue to do more for the Rays, and especially since they're such a young team, they can build off what they have and just use it to their fullest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if they'll get back to the World Series. They lost Blake Snell. I don't know if they'll get back there, but I definitely think they're a top team still.
They are. They have a lot to prove without Blake Snell and just as a young team. Kevin Cash managed them really well last season, so it'll be interesting to see if he can do it again.
Despite that one call in the end, but we won't give it over.
The one pitching
thing that made the World Series maybe
it's
who knows?
It's fine. Kershaw needed that moment.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we need. I mean, hey, I'm a Dodgers fan.
Needed that moment as a Dodgers fan.
I'll take it and run, definitely. Now, the last thing I want to talk about for the MLB this week is players that you think will surprise. Teams that you think will surprise everyone this year. Now, we both picked one team, and I personally am gonna go with the Miami Marlins. I mean, we saw what happened last year. They reached the 2020 playoffs for the first time in 17 years. They had people out for COVID. Absolutely no one thought the Marlins were going to get there. I said it early last year before the season started. I was like, no, they're not one to watch. Absolutely not. The Marlins have a long ways to go. But I was surprised. Obviously, everyone was surprised. And I think that this year they're just going to keep on with that momentum. I think they're a young team. I don't know about playoffs. I think it's going to take that same kind of almost miracle. I wouldn't call it a miracle. I think, I don't know a better term, but I think last season, I don't think that was a total fluke. I think they're just on the road to something great. And I think, they still have a couple years before they get to even a remote World Series contention, but I think that they're going to do it this season. Mattingly said recently, we hang our hat on our pitchers. We feel like that's kind of going to be our thing. And clearly it's working for them. Again, yeah. I think the reason they lost in the end is just due to, they're a young team still. So they have some veteran players, but overall they're a very young team with a young pitching staff. So that comes with age and just, playing and maturity. So I personally just think that they are going to be a team to watch and a team that will surprise most people.
Exactly. No, I agree. I definitely wasn't expecting to see them in the place that they finished last season. They came out and they showed us what they can do as a young team and as a team that heavily relies on their pitchers to get them on the board or just to pitch shutouts in general to keep the other team off the board. So just watching them this season, it'll be interesting to see how well they do hitting and how much they continue to rely on their pitchers, or whether or not they solely rely on their pitchers or continue to hang their hats on their pitchers, or put more pressure or more reliance on their hitters and on their other field players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we're definitely going to have to watch this season, but I hope, I like to see the underdogs come out on top. So now, who
Exactly.
do you think your team that will shock everyone is?
Another underdog, the Chicago White Sox. A lot of people have been talking about them this season, and they've made some, I would say, decent trades in their offseason just to get more names on their team. I wish I could pull a few off the top of my head right now, but I'm blanking.
Grandial. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation.
Yes.
They got Team Abreu, so
They just have a lot going for them this season. A lot of statisticians and analysis are looking at them as honestly one of the teams to beat. I believe they play in the National League, I want to say. But they're the American League, excuse me. They do play in the American League. A lot of people statisticians and analysis were looking at them to taking the American League. And while I say that's a little far-fetched, it can definitely be something that happens for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been I remember early last year too. I was talking about the White Sox, and I thought they would do better personally last year. I didn't think that they did as well as I wanted them to, but I still think, again, they've just kind of started that building process. They got Grandial last season. Abreu is a phenomenal player, and I just think that they have a lot of talent on that team, and they're going to continue to make that talent grow this season.
I 100% agree.
Well, I cannot wait for baseball to start personally, as it is my absolute favorite sport to watch, despite popular belief. But I'm super excited to watch it. Now, when we come back, we are joined by Ross Bernstein to talk this NBA All-Star season. Stay tuned.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Hello and welcome back to Girls on Deck. We are joined by Ross Bernstein to discuss the NBA All-Star Weekend and the new Blake Griffin trade. So let's start with the All-Star Weekend. Now, again, we talked about this before, whether it was going to happen or not, but it did, and the All-Star game happened. Team LeBron, Team Curry, Team LeBron completely swept Team Curry. Now, Ross, it was a pretty lackluster game, but what do you think of it overall?
First of all, it was Team LeBron versus Team Durant. Either way.
Oh, Durant. You're bad.
You're good. Listen, it was domination. If you look at this roster, I could have predicted this. I think most people picked Team LeBron. I think that's the reason he's called a GM. He had Giannis, he had Luka and Nikola, and on top of that, he had the 2 best shooters in the league, when Klay Thompson's not playing, Steph Curry and Damian Lillard. I think LeBron really just wanted to play with Steph. I think that was his number one priority. They won every single quarter. Granted, I believe 2 of them were very close, if I remember correctly. They were 1 or 2 points. I know one of them was 1. And then I think it was the second quarter that Team LeBron just blew them out. Listen, no one's really trying, so I guess we'll never know. But that roster is stacked. And that was without Ben Simmons. Granted, the other team was without Joel Embiid. But either way, very entertaining game. Nothing compared to last year, though, as we all remember. Like, I was yelling at my TV. Like, it felt like a pickup game. Like, I've never felt that way watching, like, a non-Heat game where I'm like, I actually was really, like, got into it. Because it's like pickup. You know, we're playing to 11, and the guys picked it up. Sucks we didn't get to see that this year, obviously. But overall, very entertaining game. Not a lot of defense played, but it's what you expect. I'm glad they did it. Like I said, I think last time I was on, I don't think the players really wanted to do it, but when they were out there, it seemed like they were having a really good time, especially LeBron. He was one of the bigger proponents of it. He was like, I don't think it's a good idea. Why are we doing all these protocols? Why are we doing this? Seemed like he was having a blast. So besides, obviously, the hitch in Simmons and Embiid, everything went off really smoothly. Great idea, doing everything in one night. So it was an entertaining game. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, and then Giannis won MVP. He really did not miss a single shot that he made, so it was definitely much deserved. Now, going to the slam dunk contest, Trailblazers, Anthony Simmons won the game. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Anthony, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's so won the dunk contest. He's a young player. So what did you think of that? You know, compared to last year, you had the whole Dwayne Wade scandal, whether he was a little more favorited towards the Heat or Aaron Gordon. But what did you think about it this year? Do you think it was a fair judge?
Yeah, I think they could have. I forget I'm not gonna lie. Cassius Stanley. I think Cassius Stanley might have had the best dunk with his in between the legs dunk. But besides that, I mean, the dunk contest, right? It's a real been hit or miss. It seems like the 3-point contest is the new one we're all waiting for because most of the players in this league are 3-point shooters. There's not a lot of dunkers. And we've lost the pizzazz of like really, really good players. Like, no disrespect to the 3 players that played the other night, but one's a rookie, right? Obi Toppin might be a good player in the future. And the other 2 are very young players that we'll see. But they're not names I think anyone was like, oh, I can't wait to see these guys in the dunk contest. At least last year, you know, we had Derek Jones Jr. Aaron Gordon got robbed again, unfortunately. It was a good contest, right? And Fernie Simmons obviously could dunk the ball very well. He could jump very high. He almost kissed. I think his low kiss to the rim, like dunk, was one of the best ones of the night. But the other day, was I super excited watching it like I was maybe for a couple years in the past? No. It got the job done. They dunked the ball. They jumped very high. But when you have the Aaron Gordon show, there's nothing compared. If I don't see Eric Gordon, Zach LaVine, or even Derek Jones Jr. to a lesser extent, I'm kind of not excited anymore because those are at least mid-tier players. I think the days of seeing the best players in the league in the dunk contest is just over, right? I think LeBron, we've been waiting for LeBron to do the dunk contest for all these years. We know it's not going to happen anymore, but even Zion not doing it, it was disappointing. I'm not going to lie. He's one of the most exciting young players. You know that he's going to do a great job, and we don't get to see it. Average at best, the dunk contest, average dunks, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm glad it happened anyway. It's still one of the best shows, but I think the 3-point contest is officially the best part of All-Star Weekend, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And just going back to the dunk contest before we continue, Aaron Gordon, unfortunately, I think he's pretty much done. You know, he's been snubbed one too many years. So I remember last year he was like, yeah, that's it for me. Like, absolutely not anymore. So going into the 3-point contest, Steph Curry won. And I was just talking to a friend before this, and he was like, yeah, that was, of all of it, that was the most entertaining thing of the weekend. And I totally agree. What do you think? What are your thoughts? I know you discussed a little bit, but like dive more into it. What do you think?
Overall, a great contest. I think Steph Curry was the favorite from the start for very obvious reasons, but Mike Conley was really surprising, right? Mike Conley, first of all, he's an okay shooter at best. I believe he's shooting around 33 to 35%, somewhere in that range. So obviously an okay shooter. That's not even a strong suit, but obviously because everything's in one night, they just had to pick some all-stars. Like, you could shoot. Like, even Zach LaVine doesn't really belong in the 3-point shooting contest. He's like, you could shoot, but it was entertaining. I can't lie. Like, I was at the TV screaming, and I love the Mountain Dew edition because nowadays, like, 3-point range is not very deep anymore. Like, the kids are shooting 3-point shots like it's nothing. So even the Mountain Dew, like, that's the reason Steph Curry won. He knocked down both of the Mountain Dew shots in the final round. If he didn't knock down both, he only won by 1 point. Very entertaining, and hopefully next year when, you know, things are different, we'll really get like a Joe Harris out there. I want to see Duncan Robinson back out there because that would have been my pick personally for obvious Heat-related reasons. But from what we got, obviously most of the people in this league could shoot. Good show, right? I think Steph Curry winning was not a surprise, but at least Mike Conley made it interesting because it was getting a little to the point. After the first round, I think it got to we knew Steph Curry was going to win it, but it was more by a question of how much, because he obliterated the competition in the first round. I think he had 3 or 4 points over the next closest person, but he did it kind of with ease. But he had to take the last shot. He held it, won it. I can't wait till Klay Thompson's back out there. I can't wait till we get actually the best 3-point shooters, but probably the best part of this All-Star weekend must have been the 3-point contest.
I absolutely agree. I think for what they had to work with this season, they did the best they could for the All-Star weekend. And again, hopefully next year we can get a more normal feel to it. Again, hopefully no more COVID, so it could get back to normal. But yeah, definitely an absolutely great All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
You're good. I was going to say I wanted to switch gears and go ahead and talk about the Blake Griffin trade to the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think that means for their team this season?
I mean, it's just another weapon. It's kind of like, in a way, you just pick the best player available because it didn't really fit what they needed, right? They needed, technically, Andre Drummond would have fit better. But when you get a player like Blake Griffin, you go for it, right? He's not the same player he was. The last 5 years, he's been injury-ridden. He obviously didn't want to play in Detroit. No disrespect to Detroit, but when you go from sunny LA, it didn't seem like he really wanted to leave there after getting a max extension to Detroit. It's gonna dampen your hopes a little bit. I think Jalen Rose said he hasn't dunked a basketball in game in over 2 years. That's not Blake Griffin. All right, he's a big small forward more than he is a power forward. Right? You're not picking him up for his defense or even really his rebounding. Although he could obviously rebound the ball, it's just another guy that you have to worry about more than anything. You could argue he's the fifth option on that team with the obvious big three of Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. And then you got Joe Harris is the best three-point shooter on that. You got to worry about him. Now you have a fifth guy that's going to be coming off the bench you have to worry about. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a problem for some people. Now, it depends on the Blake Griffin we get. In my opinion, from what I'm guessing, he wants to win really badly. I think this is a redemption kind of – he's going to play hard. He's not going to play like he was in Detroit because I think he truly wants to be in Brooklyn for obviously this is arguably the best team in the league. The first thing I thought of though when I saw this trade was poor LeBron James. How many players do you need to get on one team to beat one 35, 36, 34-year-old man in his 18th season? Like, come on. And I still think the Lakers are probably going to win the championship. That's still my pick after all of this. You needed all this to be one man and Anthony Davis and a good team and a good coach. Whatever. You needed all this to be a guy in his 18th season. It just shows to LeBron's greatness more than anything. But as far as Brooklyn goes, I think it'll obviously give a step up because you have a former All-Star coming off the bench. I don't think he's not going to start. He might start in the fourth quarter for like a small ball lineup where you have him at the 5, Durant at the 4, Harris at the 3, and then the 1 and 2 is Harden and Kyrie. But overall, this team didn't need more superstars, right? But you're always glad to have them. So we'll see how much he truly improves it. But they're the hottest team in the league right now, arguably. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he said that when he was asked, why Brooklyn, he wants to be on a contending team. I mean, it's pretty clear to everybody that the Detroit Pistons were not going to be making it to the championships anytime soon. And, he is getting older. So I think for him, it was like, let me go try and win something. But you were saying before, you think it might be a problem. So do you think the trade was unnecessary on the Nets' part? Because we know why Blake Griffin wanted to go. But do you think the Nets picking him up was unnecessary?
Unnecessary is a hard way to say it because I guess the word would be unnecessary. They don't need him to win a championship, right? You have 3 of the top 10 players in the league, 7 players in the league. You don't need him, but what are they going to get up for him? I think he's going to be a veteran. He has a veteran minimum contract already on Brooklyn that they're able to sign. He's going to get signed to that. So it's going to cost him – it's a loan. All this is a basic loan for the end of the year. Will he sign after? I don't know enough about the cap space for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to assume they don't have it, but I truly don't know. But either way, this is a 1-year loan. If he wins the championship, they might be able to restructure some contracts, get him back in. But this is a champion. I mean, it was championship or bust before this, but now it's even more because you had a guy just for 1 season. Like I said, Andre Drummond might have been the correct quote unquote fit, right? A guy that could play defense, a guy that could rebound the ball, a big guy in the middle. But I mean, you would have had a trade for him. You weren't going to get him for quote unquote free. So at the end of the day, this is probably the best move they could have made. It was really between them and the 2 LA teams, right, for Blake Griffin. I don't think he's going back to the Clippers because I think he truly is upset about that organization letting him go and trading out their max. I think he wouldn't shake Steve Ballmer's hand when he left the not Amway. What is it called? Is it Amway? Whatever the arena is.
Orlando. Wrong state.
Staples Center. Oh my God. When he left the Staples Center, he wouldn't shake Steve Ballmer's hand. Doesn't want to be there. So it was really Lakers, Nets. Would I have liked to see LeBron get a little more help? Yes. Would I think it maybe evened out now 3 and a big 3 versus another big 3? Yes. But I think maybe he was sick of LA, right? Even though I know he is part of the comedy scene out there because I kind of follow comedy scenes and that's what he does. But New York is a big enough market, I think. Does about the same difference. He went to Brooklyn. He had 2 options. He went to Brooklyn. I think at this point if we don't get a Brooklyn versus LA Lakers matchup in the finals, I think we're going to be pretty disappointed. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm going to be very disappointed. We got to see if they can beat LeBron. So if they can't beat LeBron with all this, I have to go back and talk with whoever I've talked about MJ being the GOAT. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But yeah, unnecessary, sure, but why not? It's like if I said, hey, you want $100,000? Like, do you want this? Like, it's only going to cost you maybe $10. Yeah, sure. I'll just see what happens, what I do with it. Yeah, like we'll just take it. We'll take it. It's more of a we'll take it kind of
experiment.
What's up?
It's worth the experiment. Like you said, going up against LeBron, clearly they have to do a lot going up against that, like you said, at this stacked team now. So yeah, I agree. I think I will be shocked and sad for the entire Nets team and fan base if they do not beat the Lakers in the end because of all that they had done to just really get themselves up there this season. I
agree. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense for them not to go. First of all, they're in the East. You have Philly. You really see Philly, Miami, and why is the name escaping me? Philly, Miami, not Boston, and Toronto. I can't think of another team. Philly, Boston, whatever. It doesn't matter. And Milwaukee. Giannis has been shown to choke in the playoffs. One, he's going to come with a lot of energy this year because I think the voices are trying to get to him of you can't finish, right? You can't make it in the playoffs, which is all that matters as the league MVP and one of the best players in the league. At the end of the day, getting to the playoffs, being the number one seed in the East has been cool, but you got to win. Philly is a very intimidating team, right? They have Joel Embiid, which is not the best matchup. But like I said, they should have maybe got Drummond because at least no one's going to stop Embiid, right? He's probably the number one contender right now for MVP. He's dominating all the bigs, but at least you put a big body on him. You have DeAndre Jordan, but there's levels. I think you take Andre Drummond over DeAndre Jordan still, but that's going to be a tough matchup. Having a big point guard in Ben Simmons is always hard. Who's going to guard Ben Simmons? James Harden's going to probably have to do it. He's going to have to work really hard on that. That's probably their hardest matchup. And then, of course, never count out good old Miami Heat because when we're shooting, we're one of the hardest teams to beat, and we're a very gritty team. We don't have, obviously, the superstars, but, hey, we made it last year, and they didn't say we would. So, and they're probably the second hottest, if not hottest, team in the league, along with Brooklyn. So we'll see. This is a championship or bust, like I said. The East should give them some type of challenge, but I don't imagine any series, even as a Heat fan, I don't expect any series of Brooklyn to go to 7 against any other team in the East. Every series should be to at least 6. I mean, at most 6. But we'll see. It's the NBA. There's injuries and there's COVID. You could have a COVID and miss in a playoff series, right? All the games are done in a week and a half. If you have COVID on the tracing, you might have to miss 4 or 5 days. That could be 2-3 games. That changes the trajectory of your whole playoff series. We don't know, but hey, you have 4 superstars, at least 3 superstars, 1 former superstar. You miss one, you might be able to make up for it, but we'll see. Can they beat LeBron James? They should. That's
the question, because I personally think it's going to be a no-brainer. They're taking the East. I mean, and like you said, maybe against the Heat, maybe against the 76ers, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that much of a difficult journey for them to win the East. It's the question of can they beat the Lakers in the end, which LeBron continually pulls everything out of his pocket to win. So I don't necessarily think that they will beat him, but I want them to because, it'd be nice. I would hope that they wouldn't fail after all that, but
I don't know if I want to see James Harden win the championship. He's a little complaining for me. I've turned I've 180 my LeBron take because when he left, when I was in I must have been a sophomore in high school when he left back to Cleveland. I tore down all my posters, right? I got rid of my shirts and jerseys. I was not okay about it. At this point, I've come to terms with it. He's the best player in the league. He's an amazing human being. And I think I might be rooting for him over someone like Kyrie, who he's been known to be kind of a drama queen. He's been pretty good in this situation because I think he's accepted the second row behind Kevin Durant, but he's caused issues. I don't like the way James Harden treated his teammates in Houston, even though after being 0-13 for the last 13 games since he left, they won a couple, but they've been 0-13 for the last 13. Seems like he was maybe justified here nor there. And Durant obviously going to Golden State and leaving Russell Westbrook. I'll always be a little salty about it. So I don't know if I want to see them beat LeBron. I might want to see LeBron get 5 and contest with Jordan and say, hey, I was able to watch the best player when I was a young kid in my prime. I don't care about Jordan. I saw LeBron James. So I think I might disagree with you there. I'm going for LeBron. I'd rather get him 5 than watch James Harden get his. I'm salty. I'm sorry. I'm a salty person.
I get you. Thinking about that could stump them is the cockiness, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to come out on top, but hey, we'll see in the end. We'll see who's right at the end of this.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. We still can't count out Miami. We still can't count out the Clippers. We haven't even talked about them. They're silently having probably a better season than last. That addition of Serge Ibaka was huge. So we don't even know if we're going to get this matchup. I'm willing to hedge my bets we will, and I would love to see it. but we got a long season. We have a lot of still good teams, and COVID is the biggest haymaker that we could see. We don't know what that's going to do. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Like every sports show ends, well, I guess we'll have to see.
We'll have to take it to bets to see what.
Yes. See what Kayla has to say about that.
To see what happens with that. Hannah, anything else to add?
No, you covered everything.
All right, Ross. Well, thank you so much. Once again, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And stay tuned. Next week, we will be back. Thank you so much for joining us.